All right, Linda, we are recording. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. My name is David Zappizzotti. I am the founder of Brain Flip Weight Loss, where we help people to become free of all food struggles and drop the extra weight and keep it off for the rest of their life by reprogramming their brain for it to no longer be a struggle. This is a process of very deep transformation, and they do it without any kind of resisting of foods or restricting of portions or measuring or controlling or anything like that whatsoever. Today, I have a very special guest with me who has been going through my program. She's a more advanced guest, and her name is Linda. Linda, I'd love to introduce you here.
Hello. Thank you, David. Thank you for the invitation and for those listening for being curious and brave to open your mind to something new, as I did. I found David's Facebook ad and resonated with him completely and was called to explore really the root issues of food and why people overeat or have obsessions with certain foods, and not just the traditional weight loss programs that, of course, I've done several of them. And I've lost the weight, but I gain it back. So I'm thrilled to find um, an answer that resonated with me, that made sense physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And it's made all the difference in my life.
Yeah. Awesome. Linda, I want to ask you a question. When you first joined this program, when you first found me like online, right? And you found the first training you saw, it was probably a webinar that you probably saw back at that time. Did it click for you? Did you know something was different immediately, or did it take a little bit of time to see to like really get your teeth into it?
I knew something was different immediately, but of course I had, excuse me, doubts and, resistance and whatever excuses, that come up.
Yeah.
Um,
So you needed to see like you need to see real changes. Okay, great. I asked that because everyone, I just want to Linda introduced herself there. I want to say a few words. Linda is a very kind-hearted individual. She's very, very caring. It's one of the things I love most about her. She's very sincere in her desire to better herself, to become a better human being in whatever ways that looks for her in that moment. I know through I don't know how long it's been, so probably several months or half a year or something, or more, maybe more than that. Um, Linda always comes with a sincere intention to better her life. And if that requires her to look at things that are challenging, she does. And she does, right? In this program, in the Brain Flip Weight Loss program, there are three phases that people go through. The first phase is with cravings for unhealthy foods, junk foods, fast foods, sweet, salty, binge eating, all that kind of stuff is flipped in the first flip. At the end of it, the junk food could be all around the house, and it's like you're surrounded by celery. It doesn't matter if people are eating it or not, there's just complete freedom. The next flip after that is in the second phase, that's overeating and snacking, where we deal with compulsive overeating, frequent eating, things like that, that don't give the digestive system a rest. We become free of all those overeating tendencies and compulsions in about a week and a half to 2 weeks is the average. The first one with cravings is usually 2 to 3 weeks. This one's usually a week and a half to 2 weeks. At the end of it, they're eating the optimal amounts in a rhythmic eating pattern that's aligned with the body they want to have and the life they want to live. It's a fairly simple process, even though most people don't believe that it could possibly be that before they actually go through it. The third phase is weight loss, and that's where Linda's at right now. Um, so Linda, I want to go through like kind of your journey right from the beginning, how it went and what you were experiencing. So um, first I want to just get into some of the nitty-gritties of your background. So first off, your age, you're 71, right? Is that what you told me?
Next month I'll be 71.
Next month you'll be 71. Okay. And
Mhm.
then Do you remember what the weight was that you were at when you first started in the program?
I think it was 218.
218. Okay. And then what was the goal that like was most exciting for you, the thought of getting down to at that time?
140.
140. Okay. So uh, almost 80-pound weight loss, about 78 pounds. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. And then, so 71 years old. How tall are you?
by 5.5.
5'5.5". Okay. And you started at 218. Now, tell me about like food struggles. What kinds of challenges were you having in regards to food?
Um, Eating in response to emotional triggers.
Okay. So you were an
Uh,
emotional eater.
Emotional eater. I wasn't in, didn't do overeating, but ate between meals, snacks, and would go and eat food as comfort.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
was it were there issues with, would you say that it was predominantly for you cravings for unhealthy foods or overeating of healthy foods? Was more
Unhealthy foods, craving
unhealthy cravings
healthy
for unhealthy, and what kinds of foods were they that you were having cravings for? What specific things?
food. Soda pop,
Okay.
chocolate,
Chocolate,
chips. Yeah.
potato chips, tortilla chips, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Was like
Crunchy.
ice, was like ice cream,
Um,
or like baked
Little, but
goods.
yeah, some, but
Okay. Okay. So you came in, how often were you indulging at that time? Like, I don't know. I know you've been free of it for such a long time at this point, so it
it's
might
hard
be
to
hard,
actually go
hard to
back.
remember. Yeah. This is something I want people to understand. Like the way that Linda's responding to this, it shows actual root issue change
Yeah,
because the fact that it's so not an issue anymore that she has to like think back to even remember about it. Most
yeah,
people couldn't imagine that that could be possible,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like that
Me too.
this could be such a thing that I'm free of that like I forget it even existed anymore. That doesn't even enter into most people's minds. That's too
Yeah,
far away because
yeah.
they're so used to using processes that actually don't get to the root. So, how often were you indulging in unhealthy foods, would you say?
I three or
Was it
four
all
times a week, probably.
3 or 4 times a week? So, like close to every day, a few days shy of that. Okay. When you first started going through the first brain flip and reprogramming cravings, share a little bit of your experience about that. What was that like for you? Like needing, like, just so people understand for context, when you are flipping junk foods, you actually have to bring the junk foods in the house. Anything you sincerely have desire for, you have to have it available so that we can actually eat it and reprogram it so that you're no longer have a desire for it, but you reprogram it while you're actually eating it. So that's what's
Yeah.
happening in the first flip. So what was that like for you to like bring the foods into the house? Was there fear to do that?
Um,
Or was it already there and it was more just like having to allow yourself to
well, it was like in the beginning, it was like permission to do the unseen thing, right?
right, right.
And so it was kind of fun, but also it's bringing what is hidden into the light.
Yeah,
You know, it's 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 putting it right in your face.
right.
This is what I need to work on.
Yeah,
And there were steps to follow. It was all black and white what to do. It was simple.
yeah,
And I was extremely motivated.
yeah,
And it shockingly happened very rapidly.
yeah,
Because you're telling, you're changing how your mind looks at things and how
right.
you talk to yourself. And
Can I give you a quick story real fast that reinforces what you're saying right now?
okay.
So, a couple weeks ago, my wife and daughter and I went down to there's like a field, a community field, and people play volleyball there on the weekends. So it's every Sunday. We'll go tomorrow too. Um, we went there and I was talking with this one guy who was in between games and he's like a yoga guy and He's real healthy. And he was asking me like with reprogramming people's food addictions because he found out that I do that. Then he came up and started asking me about it. And he was talking about fasting. And I told him, I said, and this is going to sound completely nuts to most people, right? But if you actually think about it, it's going to make complete sense. It's healthier. It's actually more of a fast to eat McDonald's if you genuinely want it, but to eat it in a way where you no longer have a desire for it anywhere to reprogram to break that free of that addiction. It is a more of a fast to do that than it is to not eat food but want to have McDonald's.
Mhm.
If people actually just hear those words, it's going to sound crazy, right? Like to eat McDonald's, that's a fast. If you have a desire for it, it absolutely is, right? So this is
Yeah.
like, I'm just saying this because like it kind of reinforces what you're saying right now. Like you look at the whole thing completely differently through that. So you said it happened in a fairly short period of time. How fast did it happen? How fast did you go from indulging 3 to 4 times a week to knowing that you were free of all like addictions to unhealthy cravings?
That's another question that is so remote that I feel like I'm making it up, but very short. I don't know, a week or two. I can't remember.
Okay. The average is 2 to 3 weeks. So yeah, that might have been a little bit shorter. Okay. And then we moved on to overeating, right?
Yeah.
Now, how was that for you? Like, do you remember that kind of place you were in
Yeah,
before?
I mean, I didn't come in with that issue, but it was interesting how powerful that was, regardless of what you came in with.
Right.
Uh, the 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 re the asking yourself questions of, am I full? Am I satiated? Do I have what I need? Those things are important in everywhere in your life, whether it's your home or your family or whatever your needs are met. So um, I found it was interesting and challenging to eat that second portion. Became very difficult to do.
Yeah.
It very easily changed my mind about what full is and what satiation is, and
Right.
um, it was powerful. But yes, definitely wanted you to say it was time to stop that.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, because I want to make sure that this is clear that people understand what we're talking about. Um, in the overeating flip, people end up eating typically half to a third of what they were eating before. Most like that's the average. Linda, do you remember about how much it was for you? Probably about half or something, I'm
Probably about
guessing.
half because
Yeah.
it wasn't overeating anyway,
Yeah.
but
Right. So, but even with that, like, even with not thinking you have an overeating issue, to be eating half of what you thought of what you were eating before in something you didn't even think you had an issue in, like that
right.
was one where like you realized you had more of an issue than you actually thought you did, right?
Yeah. You're eating
Um,
with a different mindset.
Right. So for most people, what happens when they join a program, they're told to restrict and they feel miserable, right? Like we are told to eat less food on some level and we feel less enjoyment in the process of doing that, which means that in the brain, eating less food becomes programmed to equate to suffering or to misery or something like
Yeah.
that. In the overeating flip, we actually reprogram. So what Linda did in this flip, she didn't eat more food than she was eating before. She was eating the same general amounts, but she would reprogram that amount to feel like more and more until she was able to cut out the extra and be excited to just eat a smaller amount, which is a very, very different experience from what people are going through when they use processes that don't get to the root of the issue. So part of the way that we flip overeating is by also reprogramming your association to eating less food that you've got from previous diets and weight loss stuff that you've done. Right. So
Yeah.
we're kind of undoing the past in a number of different ways. How long did that one take, would you say, for you to cut the extra portion out? And was it maybe a week or week and a half?
Yeah, I
Might
think
have been
so.
short, might have even been. kind
I
of
felt
recall
like
it being even a little bit shorter for you.
I went longer, but I wanted it to be shorter. I was
Yeah.
probably done sooner than, but I kept going.
Okay. Yeah. Well, sometimes people lengthen it out to like really refine it really well and get it deep and get like crystal clear on that point between being overly satisfied or being satisfied, truly satisfied, and being overly full. It's kind of a game at the end where you're
Yeah.
exploring how deep you want that process to be. Um, so maybe a week and a half
Yeah.
to including the time it takes to stabilize the lower portions. It's probably that for you. Okay, so then we went to weight loss, right? So like we talked about, 218 was where around where you started. The goal we talked about was 140. And I think that at this point, if I recall, like the number isn't as much of a really an issue. Like it's not a, you feel like you're kind of around where you want to be in terms of your size, just maybe leaning up a little bit now, right?
Yeah, I think I'm close. Toning,
Yeah.
is more of an issue. I ended up losing, quite a bit of weight before we even started the third
Okay.
flip.
Were you, oh, right, right. Yeah, you did lose some weight in the food flips. And you lost a lot of weight in the emotional flip when you
Yeah.
were going through the emotional flip, I remember. And that was when you accidentally found out. For everyone listening, in my program, we don't weigh ourselves. We weigh in the beginning to get a baseline weight to see where you're starting. We don't weigh until at the end when you think you're at your weight loss goal and you know that that's where you are and you don't want to be anywhere else. Once you're there, that's when we weigh you. No one cares what the scale says by the time they actually get to it. It's actually a part of how they get to it. Um, However, with that said, and the reason for this, the reason that we don't weigh is because when you do, you can't help but to create a psychologically heavy identity around what that number says. All right. And so by not weighing ourselves, a lot of people have fear of that in the beginning. I don't think you did, right, Linda? That wasn't really a big concern. Yeah. Some people are
No.
really afraid to like give up the scale. They are then finally able to start creating a self identity that has value within itself rather than just based on what the number says on the scale or the number of
Yeah.
calories you ate in a day. We don't do any of that stuff, right? So Linda actually did at a certain point find out because she went to the doctor and she's supposed to tell the doctor, don't tell me what the number says, right? But you found out before you could say it. I'm not blaming you for it, but it did happen, right? And what was it like you were down 40 or 45 pounds or something like that at that point?
No, it was more like 35 to 40. Yeah.
30, 35 to 40. Okay. Yeah.
But I
So,
knew because my clothes were,
right.
not fitting and
What was it like for you to find that out that you lost 35, I mean 35 to 40 pounds on a 5'5" frame? That's pretty significant.
yeah.
That's a good amount of weight, right? What was it like for you to have done that without any focus whatsoever on weight loss?
I mean, it really,
I mean, everything we're doing is weight loss, right? Like when you do the emotional flip and you release, reconcile emotional triggers, like you're actually losing weight there too. But like, I mean, like actually seeing a physical change in your body. Like, what was that like for you to do that without any focus on doing that whatsoever on a physical level?
I would have said it's not possible.
Yeah,
I would not have believed that, initially. So that was a beautiful thing because it's so sustainable and so natural for me. And each person has their own take on it and do what they need to for themselves. So
right.
very individualized, and I love that.
Yeah,
And a lot of support for the individual's needs and situation.
yeah.
Um, I think it was good, but also I've been there before. I've lost that kind of weight before, but it was arduous
But you're right, that's what I was gonna say is how
and not
art how
sustainable.
yeah, I was gonna say how much exertion was there in doing that? Like some kind of exertion of effort, right?
Yeah, I mean, this program without the emotional flips would not be sustainable for me
It wouldn't be sustainable for anyone.
because I think that's a lot of the weight loss is the weight of the triggers and the emotional, frozen stuff,
Yeah.
old stuff that affects you that maybe isn't even yours.
Had you
So,
were you in the third phase when you found out you lost 35 to 40 pounds, or was that just when you were going through the emotional flip?
mhm.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty powerful. Yeah, I knew when you told me that you were going really deep into it, and that proved to be the case when we would talk in the group coachings. The stuff you were bringing up was really,
And I still am. I mean, it gets
yeah,
deeper all
yeah,
the
good,
time, layers on the onion, but
right.
um, that's the part that makes it incredibly unique for sustaining
Well, let me ask you this
everything
then.
in life.
Yeah, let me ask you this. If you had to kind of encapsulate for yourself what the difference is before you started in brain flip weight loss in regards to how you addressed challenges as compared to how you address them now, what would you say is the biggest difference between them?
Oh boy.
Like, forget about the weight, like the weight loss is great. The food struggles are awesome. Like that stuff is all left in the
Yeah,
dust a long time ago, right? Like that stuff, you're beyond all that now. Which is funny because we're doing this talk for people that are struggling with it,
yeah.
but that's why it'll be effective for people because you're so far beyond it, like it's not even on your radar anymore. What's on your radar about triggers, about
Radar
facing
about
the challenges
triggers.
of life?
Like they're opportunities now. They're opportunities to heal. They're opportunities to raise your awareness and really the underlying knowledge that really everything is about me, how I see the world and how I respond to something. And if you're angry at someone, then there's something that's unresolved in me.
Yeah,
So it's a gift,
yeah. I
and
see. I
tools gives you a tool to for anything that comes up. You have a series of tools that you can use at will for the rest of your life. And it affects how I see the world. It affects how people see me. It changes my relationships. And I love that. It's a real freedom from being trapped by your emotional responses.
To address what Linda's talking about for everyone listening for a moment. In the emotional flip, we're doing the emotional flip in the second phase when we're like right after overeating, but before we get to weight loss, so that when we do get into weight loss and we're doing it at the actual root level, and then all the shit comes up that we don't want to have to like how that extra weight served a purpose. What was the beauty of it? Like those aren't things we typically see when we're struggling with it, but you start to see it as you reconcile it and really change um the physicality of your body, right? In the emotional flip, the way that we come to a place of being able to do that and face those things is by realizing that we are 100% responsible for our life. This is what Linda's talking about. We are completely responsible for our emotional response to the experiences of life. And the more it's one thing to conceptually understand that. Linda, you understood that idea before you came into this program, right? But it's one thing to understand it conceptually, and it's a completely different thing to live it experientially. Understanding it conceptually can give you more motivational buy-in, but you've got to actually experience in order to gain that wisdom,
Yeah.
right? And so, Linda, I've been like jumping out of my skin the last 2 days, excited to talk with you because to me, you are like the queen of someone who's taking responsibility for their own life. Like you've gone through challenges in while you've been in this program. You've gone through some big challenges and you've dealt with them beautifully. Have they all been easy? No. It's been the whole spectrum of the range of emotions that you can feel, but you're feeling them more deeply than you ever did before.
Yeah.
And I can sense the reconciliation and how that's changed you. So thank you for being on this journey with me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, it's not only knowing that you're responsible, but that you are able to respond
Right.
in a way to make your own change.
Right.
Like you're not the victim of the emotion.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that.
It's like I said, I think in Lori's interview that I did with her, the conversation I had with her, I was saying that when you actually have a root issue, like when you actually deal with something at the root, you are fully capable of doing it. If you're not capable of the solution, it's not a solution that gets to the root of the issue. So everything that Linda is talking about, or if you see other interviews with other clients that they're the things they're talking about, every single thing that everyone you're ever going to hear in these interviews is talking about, everyone is fully capable of doing. There's nothing in the program that people are not capable of. For those of you listening to this that are interested in finding out more about how Linda did become free of food struggles, how did she like lose that extra weight without weighing herself, without focusing on weight loss at all? Like, how does that even work? If you're interested in that, I've created a free 20-minute training that you can watch. You can click on, there'll either be a button below that might say learn more. It might be like the first comment in the post where you can click on that link and it'll take you to a page where you can opt in and watch a free 20-minute training. And if this is of interest to you, you'll get more information as you move further into getting emails from me, other trainings you can watch and things like that. And if you're interested in the program, you'll be able to get access to that. So with that, you can click on the button or you can click on the link if you see that below. And with that, thank you for being here. Linda, thank you for talking with me. Is there anything that you would like to share with everyone in closing?
Um,
It's okay
if
if not. We've shared a lot of powerful stuff,
I
but
know, I
it's
mean, if you're watching this, you have some intrigue already and some curiosity, so just go for it. Follow your curiosity. David's the real deal. He's genuine. He's so smart, and these are unique to the weight loss industry. These concepts are unique, and but everyone can do it. Everyone needs to know about it. So that's part of why I'm doing this is, in support of everyone else that's struggling.
thank you for that. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Bye-bye.